Fifth grade Interim 1. Read the passages and answer the questions that follow, then write a response to the writing prompt. Passage 1. Excerpt from A Day in the Life of a Colonel Lighthouse Keeper by Lori Krebs. Thomas Knox was a lighthouse keeper in Boston Harbor in 1783. He lived on Little Brewster Island. The lighthouse keeper's job was to use the lighthouse to guide ships into port. A busy night. Thomas kept an eye on the changing weather. The wind picked up and sheets of rain rattled the windows. Heavy fog hid the coastline. Thomas couldn't see a thing from the tower. He climbed down to the cannon, kept at the bottom of the light. He fired the cannon across the water. The ships close to shore heard the warning. The ship sounded its cannon in reply just in time. Then Thomas ran up the tower to tend the flame. He ran down again to fire the cannon every hour until the storm ended. A job well done. When things were quiet again, Thomas had regular tasks to manage. It was Thomas's job to light the lamps at sunset, keep them burning all night, and snuff them out at sunrise. He also kept the cannon ready to signal on foggy days. He polished brass fixtures and made small repairs to the building. He painted the lighthouse inside and out. He kept a daily log of the weather and an account of the whale oil he used. That wasn't all. At times, he had to climb outside the tower to fix it. That was a very dangerous job. To the rescue. Thomas also had to rescue sailors. Once, a raging storm made the sky terribly dark. It was hard to tell day from night. A schooner ran into the rocks just off the coast of Little Brewster Island. Sailors were thrown into the sea. Their lifeboats broke up on the rocky shoals. Thomas jumped into his boat and rowed out to save the men. The waves reached 10 feet or 3 meters high. He reached the men just in time, but both the schooner and its contents were lost. Thomas knew the men were lucky to reach the shore safely. A keeper's pay. To pay for the upkeep of the lighthouse, ship owners paid a fee when they entered or left the harbor. The local trade and fishing vessels, the price was 5 shillings per year. The fee also paid Thomas's salary of $225 a year as head lighthouse keeper. He and his family were given a house on the island and 25 stacks of wood to keep it warm. There was good soil for a garden and plenty of fish to eat. Thomas was also given the use of a boat to earn extra money as a harbor pilot. He guided ships safely into port. Life on Brewster Island. The sky had cleared as Thomas Knox put away his polishing cloths and climbed down the 2 ladders and 76 steps. It was time for a warm breakfast and a chat with his wife. The Knox family lived on Little Brewster Island year-round. In good weather, they gardened and enjoyed picnics. Thomas waved to his children. They were leaving on a small boat for school on the mainland. Thomas smiled as he looked out at the calm ocean and thought, yes, there will be safe passage for sailors tonight. Passage 2. Excerpt from Lighthouses for Kids, History, Science, and Lore with 21 Activities by Catherine L. House. Besides having the rare chance to explore shipwrecks, children of lighthouse keepers peered into tide pools, scoured the shoreline for treasures, and learned to handle boats at an early age. Often, their brothers and sisters were the only children to play with. Sometimes it was difficult to keep quiet so that the tired keepers could catch up on sleep during the day. From the time they were young, lighthouse children helped with chores to keep the lighthouse and the keeper's house clean and orderly. Most important, they were proud of the jobs their fathers and mothers held. Even in times of illness, bad weather, and family crisis, they did what they could to keep the lights burning. Treasures from the sea. Whether they lived on an island or on the mainland, along the ocean, a lake, or a river, children who grew up in lighthouses looked for adventures along the water. They often walk the coastline in search of shells, driftwood, or other treasures. For some, a new tide might even bring exotic food. William Spear Jr. grew up along the Delaware Bay, where his father served as keeper of the Deepwater Range lights for over 30 years. After a shipwreck, bunches of canned food floated ashore, but not before their labels washed off. Mother would open a can, hoping it would be beans or tomatoes, and we would be delighted to find out it contained peaches or cherries, he later recalled. Not every shipwreck brought such a selection of treats. Harold Jennings was born in 1921 on an island in Boston Harbor, where his father was a lighthouse keeper. Once, after a shipwreck nearby, 150-pound boxes of coconut washed ashore. I thought I would never want to see another shred of coconut in my life, Harold later wrote. We would have coconut in everything. More often, the sea provided daily food and sometimes treats. In Southern California, Normal Ingle often pried abalone, a type of musclet, off the rocks at low tide. Her father was a keeper at Ballast Point Lighthouse in the early 1900s. Sometimes the family dried the meat from the shells on the fence. It was cheaper than gum. There was always a ready supply. It satisfied our hunger for a spell, and then it was an excellent gum massage, Norma remembers. Number 1. Which is the best summary of passage 1? A. Thomas Knox was a lighthouse keeper. He was paid $225 a year and also had a wife and kids. B. Being a lighthouse keeper is a very important job as well as very dangerous job. C. Thomas Knox was a lighthouse keeper. His day consisted of keeping close track of the weather, upkeep of the lighthouse, and rescuing sailors. D. Thomas Knox worked all night and then was able to see his wife and kids each morning. He rescued sailors and lived on Little Brewster Island. Number 2. What is the meaning of the word ashore as it's used in paragraph 13? A. Off the shore. B. On the shore. C. On the rocks near the shore. D. Sunk in the water. Writing prompt. You have just read 2 passages about lighthouses. Write an opinion essay explaining your opinion on whether the life of a lighthouse keeper was challenging. Include specific details from both passages to support your response. Manage your time carefully so that you can plan your essay and do some pre-writing using your scratch paper and write your essay on the line pages. Be sure to use evidence from both passages. Avoid over-relying on one passage. Your written response should be in the form of a multi-paragraph opinion essay. Write your essay on the response lines below. Anything you write that is not in the response box will not be scored.